Hi, my name is Cindy. I am in my fourth year of TMU's undergraduate journalism program. My experience in the program has been great. I feel like I've been able to kind of tailor it more according to my interests, so more so like what mediums I want to do, whether it's something more visual or video or audio. I've been able to take the right courses to kind of lead me into that direction and get those skills, so pretty satisfied overall. There's quite a diversity in the voices you can take in journalism, which I didn't expect going into the program. Even within writing, you can do, I did an opinion writing class. You can be more playful, you can be more creative, but also you can be more serious or hard news, depending on what you're writing. And I do really admire that about the journalism industry. For me, coming in first year and just they instantly throw you into doing interviews, and you just have to get good at even just talking to your fellow classmates. And if you were kind of like me and not the best at it, especially in first year and second year for myself, it was kind of difficult for me to feel like I could get a full scope of the program just because I was kind of holding myself back. I do a lot of visual arts on the side, a lot of it could be digital art, but I've also, for a few years, I've done a lot just sketchbook or life/figure drawing with models and more anatomy kind of stuff that I just like doing myself on the side. I also do a lot of theater work, so theater production, painting. I do a lot of theater production related things for sets, or if it's stage managing for external productions, non-university things as well. Sometimes there are hobbies you just start and then you don't even realize there's a point you started them, but just one day you're like, oh, I'm decent at this, or oh, I just really like doing this, but you don't remember exactly where. That's kind of me with a lot of visual arts. A lot of it is a chance to wind down, a good distraction, but they're also just things I do like doing and things I just want to get better at skill-wise. Whether I'm gonna keep it as a hobby or if it's something that I'll kind of intertwine with something else. So TMTC, which is the Toronto Metropolitan Theatre Company, I was hired to be their graphic designer for the season. And it's a weird mix, it's at TMU, theater, which I did a lot of production stuff, graphic design, just visuals that I love making. And those are all Adobe Illustrator, which I've gotten decent at, over just doing it a lot of that kind of their style of illustration. But yeah, I am. It's semi-hobby, something I actually want to do. So it's really nice. In a journalism program, there's a lot of, it's a multimedia program. So there's a lot of opportunities to do visual things. So I like to try to, if it's providing illustrations or I get to work with Adobe, even if it's with photos or videos, or sometimes I want to get more into motion graphic kind of things, is something I'm really interested in moving forward with and learning on my own. I do a lot of the things I am taught here, but also I think everyone has their kind of niches and their interests that they try to develop, they try to intertwine within their careers themselves. And I think for a creative, a media-based career like journalism with so many different avenues and media, arts and culture, media, podcast, radio, just different genres of journalism. There are just so many avenues you can go down, so I don't see why I couldn't intertwine what I'm doing within that.
My name is Alicia Hugh. I'm a fourth year journalism student, and so far my experience at TMU has been pretty good. I enjoy it when journalists are creative with their approach to conveying news. I've seen a lot of people do work with they do it in a visual medium, they do it through an art form like a comic, or they've done it through music, and I think that's very interesting to take what people assume is a very informational and stoic approach of a piece of work, and they take it into their own thing. I'm very introverted, and so every single time I need to contact a source or interview them in person, I do struggle with that. It's a matter of being rejected, I guess. It's like I'm not sure how to approach a stranger and ask them if I can talk to them about something they've done or something that they stand for. And it's just a bit hard to get myself out there, but yeah, I'm doing it. I have a lot of hobbies. I do crocheting, I do baking and cooking, and I do creative writing since I was a kid, and I've gamed since I was a baby. So crocheting's done a lot for me, I would say. It's a chance for me to like have something for my hands to do, because I'm very fidgety. And like as a child, I used to pick a lot at my fingers for my skin. So like it's good to break out of bad habits, and also it's just a time to wind down for me. I'm able to just relax and do something that's repetitive, mindless. I can watch a show, and it's just something I can look forward to after a long day. Sometimes a teacher, if they're really chill, like my geo teacher, she's allowed me to crochet in class, and it keeps my retention up because it's something repetitive for me to do. I'm not distracted by anything, and I just focus on the class. It's been like just about a year, or a little over a year now. And I got into it because I hate buying things for myself, and I want to make my own clothes now because I just don't like buying clothes that are too expensive from what I think, and I like making things with my hands. I picked up crocheting a lot from my mom, who crocheted a lot as a child. And like later, we kind of planned on doing markets together where we sell our own crochet pieces, and it's just a time that I can see myself doing it well into the future, maybe making a side hustle out of it, or just doing it as a hobby. I like just doing it by myself too. So I definitely know I'll be doing this well into the future. I do a lot of pattern tests, which is like when a creator wants to release a pattern to sell, and they just get a bunch of people to test it, and they get the pattern for free. And I got to test for a pretty big creator who's in Vietnam, and I tested this huge cardigan called the La Vie en Rose cardigan. And it's just this beautiful piece that has like accent roses on every single panel of it. And it's pink, and it's so spring. And it's my favorite thing I've ever created. I need more excuses to wear it out in public, really. Recently, my sister-in-law, she's a school teacher. She was like, hey, I need to like play a Ratatouille character for school. And I was like, hold on a second. In like 1 hour, I crocheted a little rat wearing a chef hat, and she can just put on her head, and she just wore that the next day at school. And apparently no one questioned her because it's a very her thing to just walk into school like that. And the kids loved it, so it was good. I remember once I took a class, a journalism class, where the final project was a creative form of journalism, and a friend and I did a comic. If I did that project again, I would probably do a little crochet piece to convey a message, because I usually do a lot of social justice journalism. And I've seen people literally knit a blanket to symbolize the unity of a community, and it just kind of shows you that people can like do a lot with their creative bone with journalism, and I want to apply that more to myself. There's something about crocheting that's like the repetitive part. I don't have to do a lot of brain work, like let's say like video games, you have to be very focused on the game only. Or like writing, you have to focus on the screen, or baking, you're in the kitchen, obviously cooking. And so it's like crocheting you can bring it anywhere, it's so repetitive. I have nothing else to fill in that void when I get very fidgety. And so I think it'd be very boring if I didn't crochet, honestly. I'm just doing it for a year, but like before that, I'm like, what was I even doing before it?
So I'm Kiana, and TMU journalism has been really interesting for me. I kind of was unsure about journalism. It was more a safe option for my interests. I started out really shy and just not really knowing what I wanted to do because I hated news, but I think as we went on, we got to learn about other mediums that are a possible avenue in this industry, and I enjoyed that a lot more, and I just think my confidence has grown more, and like I'm much better at talking to strangers now. So yeah, like it's been a wild ride. I really do like the fact that you get to learn about new things and kind of record history in a way. Like, you know, you might not be Lisa LaFlemme on TV, but you have a hand in like writing down what's going on for other people in the future to look back on. I think what I found challenging about journalism is talking to strangers. It's not really something I find natural or easy to do. I get really anxious and stressful about it. I'm also a very type A person where I want to control everything. So letting go of that control and reaching out to people and kind of depending on other people to get the job done, I think that's the most part of what I find challenging in journalism. I think I've always had a passion for art and creativity, so I took art all throughout high school, and that kind of was my outlet during COVID as well. And then I guess for crocheting, I've been seeing those like starter kits on like social media, and then my family got me a starter kit for Christmas, and I didn't use it until maybe reading week after that Christmas because I was sick one day, so I was just home and I started to make it, and I actually got to pick it up really quickly. So I kind of just became obsessed. I think crocheting, in my opinion, is a lot easier than knitting. So you can kind of just, as long as you know the basic stitches, like you can look up instructions and patterns everywhere. I usually make things to give away to people. I am a hoarder, but I also know I cannot keep all these things. So yeah, I love just making things to give them away. My love language is gift giving. So yeah, I kind of took a break because school got really busy. But then I kind of got obsessed with bracelet making in late 2024. But after I kind of gave them to my coworkers as gifts and to my teachers, I kind of took a break from that as well. These hobbies definitely help me cope and kind of separate myself from my career, I would call it, in journalism, because when you turn something, whether it be writing or content creating, into a job or, you know, a prospective career, I think it puts more pressure on it. And not that you don't get as much enjoyment out of it, but you have to get something out of it. But having these creative outlets give me something else that I can make that really has no pressure on me. Like, a lot of the times no one really is expecting me to make them something or give them something. So there's no one really hounding down a deadline or, you know, saying, oh, I wanted it to look like this instead of this. So yeah, I think just being able to not use as much brain power and just be able to make something for the purpose of making it is a good outlet for me. I personally believe that our lives, kind of everything in our lives, kind of affect how we work and what we do as journalists. But specifically, I think just even starting crocheting, it kind of brought me into the world of, you know, small independent businesses. So I think for my feature story in second year, I really focused on, you know, that one person small business, and I wrote about those, and it kind of gives me more interests in, I guess, smaller community topics, especially if it's something that I'm writing on my own. I think creativity is a muscle that, you know, you can work on to make it strong, or if you don't work on it, then it's not as strong. I definitely see myself still engaging in creative hobbies down the line. Whether it's the same ones, I'm not sure. Again, I kind of jump from hobby to hobby, but I think everyone needs an outlet, and it's different for everyone. I think for me, it's just making things for other people, so that's definitely in my future. That's what I enjoy. It's kind of like a brainless thing to do while I have a podcast on, an audiobook on, a TV show on, a movie on. It's just something that gets my energy out in a way that also works for my creativity, and also I get to make presents for people. So yeah, I definitely am going to keep doing these.
Hi, my name's Evan, and I'm a fourth-year journalism student, and I'm also the one making this documentary. Some aspects of journalism that I can appreciate, include the fact that there are a lot of different mediums of storytelling now in journalism. There's longer form journalism in the form of documentaries. I love visual storytelling in general. I love that. That's not to diminish the writing side of it. I love to write, and I think I'm grateful to be entering this industry at a time where we are more able to embed our own voices into our journalism, into our writing. And also there are different, styles of journalism that are becoming popular again, such as, the personal essay, and there's opinion writing, which is great. Film reviews, I love to review a film from time to time, especially like children's classics. It's still very much in touch with my inner child, so I love to kind of write reviews and explore the films that I grew up watching more in depth now. I've always had a love of drawing. I think, just as this sounds really cliche, but as long as I can remember, I've been drawing. Maybe my earliest memory being when I was 3. I'd always be inspired a lot by the movies that I watched. I really love to, I love to draw anything that's in the realm of fantasy or magic, because I think it's just, a form of escapism, and I love the possibilities, and also the color. You see a lot of vibrant colors and kind of these very whimsical designs. And I've also I think when I was probably around 10, I developed a love of sculpting stuff out of plasticine and clay, and just making miniatures. I love miniature worlds, little miniature furniture and little miniature characters. I love creating that. I would say that during COVID, it was, as with a lot of people, it was a tough time for me. I struggle with anxiety, and it was, of course, exacerbated by the pandemic. It was only made worse by that. And I actually fell out of love with writing at that time, because, going back to this idea of how I can be a perfectionist and I demand a certain kind of certain results of myself. It was a very confusing time. I could not focus. There was little motivation, little incentive, and I felt like whatever I was doing was not good enough. I was not happy with it. So there was a lot of a loss of drive. And so I needed to find another creative outlet to express myself. And that is when I kind of went back into creating miniatures and sculpting stuff out of clay. And I created I think the first project that came out of that really kind of tough time in my life, during COVID, was this little fairy cottage that was out of a Beatrix Potter story. Just the tales of Peter Rabbit and all that. I wanted to make something that really aligned with my values and what I really enjoy portraying in terms of art. So yeah, and I still do it now. I haven't really had time to make as big a project as that garden cottage. So right now what I'm focusing on are these little dioramas encased in these little kind of orbs that you can put on top of a cabinet or a table or something. And they're simple enough to make. They don't demand a lot of time. They're it's a lot smaller, but I always like to have a little animal character centerpiece. I love that. That's I think my trademark. I know some people, whenever they make something that's a household craft, they have a set design in mind or a sketch to help them map out their process. I don't really follow anything quite like that. I'm very off the cuff. I just create, maybe I'll have a rough idea or just a color palette in mind, and then maybe I'll just kind of stray from it completely. But yeah, it's a very forgiving kind of pastime, the crafting and making those miniature dioramas. One would think that because that you're creating miniature scenes, it'd be very stress inducing, but I guess with my approach, it's just very, if I mess up, I can either go in a complete direction, or I can kind of reorganize the scene a little bit and then try to make it look different. Journalism is, as I say, very fast paced sometimes, so this hobby of crafting and drawing, it's something that it's a very slow kind of process, which is great. I love the fact that I can really take my time and think about what I want to do. And writing and journalism can be like that too. But I think that because we can get a little bit self-conscious and in our heads in terms of how we sound on paper or on camera, it's sometimes it's kind of harder to feel that sense of appreciation for the work that we do. So this is a very like just kind of it helps that I'm making these crafts usually for no one but myself. Sometimes I will make them for friends and family, but oftentimes I just make it for myself, and that's like really where the sense of just like just kind of being free comes from. I definitely see myself engaging these hobbies in the future. I don't know where I'd be without them. They just allow me to feel, as I said, a sense of accomplishment and a sense of purpose. Having that kind of escape, having that like little kind of world that you create for yourself, and that little sense of like, the little things that bring you joy like that, those are so important. And it's just it's so simple. It doesn't maybe it doesn't add anything immensely great to the world, but it makes us happy. It makes the person who creates it very happy. And they're just like, sometimes when you look at them after you've made them, it's just like a nice reminder that like, I made that. I can do, if I set my mind to something, I can do it. There's joy to be had from these simple moments and these simple things. It's nothing big or fancy. It's just something simple that you can take pride in.